Hey, this is Mark Rodriguez.
And this is Johnny Rodriguez, and you're watching the Video Game Masters.
As you guys know, we've been here on YouTube for over 10 years, and throughout those 10 years, we've been trying to branch out to other platforms. We actually got a channel on Dailymotion. I don't know who really watches Dailymotion. And we also tried out with vidme.com, which died shortly afterwards. I hope that wasn't our fault. And right now, the platform we're talking about mostly is Odyssey, also known as LBRY or LBRY. And we started off with LBRY in, I want to say, late 2019, early 2020, before, you know, what happened in 2020 and stuff like that. And we had our own video game playthroughs and talking about, you know, like, yeah, unboxing zone, the review, Sanctum, stuff like that. And certain videos that YouTube wouldn't like. Like, for example, back then, I don't know if it is like this now. I think the rules have kind of changed now, or they're more lenient. But back then, Nintendo was very strict on like Nintendo games and videos on YouTube and stuff like that. But nowadays I see lots of videos on like Mario Maker or Mario Odyssey and that new one, the fantasy one, whatever it's called. But you know, like there's lots of Nintendo videos and stuff, and Pokemon and Zelda. So I think they might have either like relaxed the rules a little bit or just not as strict as it was back in 2019. So we got some videos like that on that channel. And also, of course, the infamous, the music gets claimed, the copyright music in the background and stuff like that. And a perfect example was a video where Johnny and I were actually there live at an AEW event, and you're playing Judas, and of course you just gotta sing along to Judas and everything, but of course I can't show that on YouTube because the song will get claimed or whatever, so we got that one on LBRY. Now, when it came time to do like a video game review show, I didn't want to do just Video Game Masters. I wanted to do something different, a fresh new approach, maybe something that's more like LBRY exclusive. So that's why we started off with the Gamer Cauldron.
The Gamer Cauldron would have different segments where we cover modern games and retro games. The main appeal was the Gamer Cauldron, a magical cauldron with unlimited video games. You can just keep putting more and more games out, and it never ends.
Now, of course, it would be difficult to do both the Video Game Masters and the Gamer Cauldron at the same time without putting one on hiatus in favor of the other. So, a lot of the video game reviews would actually overlap. So, yeah, a lot of the newer games, like, say, Soul Calibur 6 and Dead or Alive 6 and Tekken, no, not Tekken 6, Tekken 7, we would both review. Well, we'll do the review, but all the footage, the game footage, the voiceovers, Johnny and I talking, all that stuff would be exactly the same on both Video Game Masters and Gamer Cauldron. And, you know, just save some time, cut some corners and all that. But at the same time, we still had some new stuff. We went back to some of the older games because, of course, nowadays you got different tools as opposed to what we had back in 2009 with the small little battery-operated camera with the purple bar, the infamous purple bar and all that kind of stuff. So obviously we can go back and have better, cleaner footage, and you know how it is, maybe our opinions changed on a game between now and then, and stuff like that. And also, there have been some new re-releases lately. Perfect example is Scott Pilgrim vs. the World on the PS4, but of course, we already covered that way back in the day, so now we kind of came back to cover it again, but with our more modern-day, you know, cast members that we got and everything. So, yeah, there are exclusive things that have not been seen in the Video Game Masters channel, and unfortunately, with LBRY, when we were new, we were popular, lots of views, people love our stuff, but now over the years, it's just kind of gone down, no one's really watching, and with YouTube, even though I wouldn't really call myself a big channel by any means, people are still watching. We still got loyal fans that have been following us from years and stuff like that, and I feel that you guys deserve to see all this footage too, after us putting all the work into it and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Like, why make all the work? No one's watching. But at least with YouTube, like it or not, people say about YouTube compared to other media, YouTube is still the place where you get views. So now you can check it out for these next couple episodes. You're going to see these, I guess, lost reviews, you know, hidden lost footage or whatever you want to call it. And we'll be putting these on the following episodes.
So in the next few episodes, we're going to go over these extra reviews, 2 games per episode. Today we're checking out Super Mario Land for the Game Boy and Fatal Fury for the Neo Geo. Let's check it out.
Released in 1989 for the Nintendo Game Boy, Super Mario Land has Mario go through 4 worlds through Sarasa Land to rescue Princess Daisy from the evil space alien Tatanga. The 4 worlds are divided into 3 levels each, and there's a boss waiting at the end of the last stage of each world. At the end of each world, you discover that the princess is really in another castle, and you gotta continue onwards.
While the game looks similar to the early Mario games, everything was very different. Like instead of Goombas, you get Chichibos. Instead of Koopa Troopas, you have Knucklebons, and their shells explode. And of course, you're rescuing Princess Daisy instead of Princess Toadstool. Nowadays, Daisy is more popular in all the Mario Party games and whatever, but back in the 90s, it was like, who the hell was Princess Daisy? And why was she in the Mario movie too?
Well, nowadays she's called Princess Peach.
Whatever, she'll always be Princess Toadstool to me. Just like it will always be Dr. Robotnik and not Eggman to me.
Anyway, Mario still has the Super Mushroom and the Starman, but now his Fireballs are replaced by a Super Ball. The Super Ball bounces all over the place and is great for grabbing hard to reach coins. However, you can't shoot more than one at the same time, so you have to wait until the Super Ball is off the screen before you can shoot another one. One of the most noticeable differences is at the end of World 2 and World 4, Mario has either a sub or a spaceship and shoots his way through the stages. So it's a pretty cool change of pace. Overall, Super Mario Land is a great game, and back then it really made the Game Boy worth buying. I mean, Mario actually had to go, what else could you want, right? While the game was very similar to the original Super Mario Bros., it was still different enough to warrant being its own game, and looking back, it just sounds so much more awesome to have your own unique Super Mario adventure rather than just porting over one of the older games. Now, I haven't played this game in a very long time, and I don't remember it being this challenging. Some of the controls are a little bit slippery, especially with some of the platform jumping, which is very crucial in a Mario game. And I can't really vouch for if the controls are like that, like on the original version on the Game Boy, or if it's because I'm playing on a Super Nintendo controller on the Super Game Boy. So I can't really say if that's how it was on the original Game Boy, but on the Super Game Boy version I'm playing, the controls are a little bit slippery, and it does make the game a bit difficult. I guess it makes sense because we only got 4 worlds in the game, as opposed to how the original Mario Bros. Had 8 worlds. I mean, the extra challenge might be there to make the game, harder to breeze through, but it is a little more challenging than I remember it being. Though, despite having to get used to the small graphics and everything, especially on the Game Boy, the game itself is a lot of fun still. I do like all the different and unique enemies. The Super Ball is a pretty cool addition to the Mario power-ups and everything. I do like especially the shooter levels. It feels very different. On top of my head, I can't really remember if any other Mario game has had shooter levels like that. I don't know if in Mario 2 you probably have one, because I do know sometimes that does return in Super Mario Land 2, so you might have a shooter level there as well. But other than that, I don't think it's a very, very common thing for Mario to have shooter levels, so it makes the game really stand out on its own. And overall, it's a lot of fun.
So, I hope both Nintendo and YouTube leaves us alone with this one. Anyways, on to something safer. Fatal Fury. Let's check it out one more time.
Released in 1991, Fatal Fury was the first fighting game released on the Neo Geo arcade and home console. The main story involves Terry, Andy, and Joe entering the King of Fighters tournament in Southtown to get revenge against Geese Howard. Geese killed Jeff Bogart, the adopted father of Terry and Andy when they were kids, but now that they're grown up and trained in different fighting styles, it's payback time.
You can only select the lone wolves, Terry, Andy, and Joe. Terry Bogart fights street style and has his giant power wave. Andy Bogart is more of a martial artist and has his deadly Saiken, and Joe Higashi is a kickboxing champ and has his hurricane upper.
After selecting your character, you get to choose which one of the 4 opponents you want to go up against first. You got Michael Max, a dangerous boxer with a tornado upper. You got Doug King, the wild and crazy breakdancer. You got Richard Meyer, who fights capoeira style and owns the Pow Pow Cafe. And Tung Fu Rue, the old martial arts master that can turn into a larger, more muscular form. Once you defeat all 4 of them, you go on to face Wa Hai, a kickboxer that relies on a little bit of the bubbly to gain new attacks, and then you face the super cheesy and super dangerous wrestler, Raiden. After you defeat them, you get to face the current King of Fighters champion, Billy Kane.
Actually, bro, it's just pronounced Billy Khan.
Oh, right. Well, anyways, after defeating Billy Khan, you don't have too much time to celebrate because you're being kidnapped and taken away.
The final boss is Geese Howard. He starts a tradition of being a super cheesy SNK boss as he can catch your attacks and counter your moves, and his replicants are huge, fast, and deal a lot of damage. He can kill you in seconds, take him down to beat the game.
One of the unique things about this game is being able to jump in and out of the background to fight. While later games gave you more control of this, in the first game though, only the opponents can jump in and out of the background and all you can do is follow them. You also have this weird arm wrestling bonus stage with a guy on a TV screen and this metal arm. I'm not really sure what I'm looking at here, but I mean, you earn more points, right? When the second player enters the game, both of you actually get to work together and double team the opponent. You can do this to everyone except for Geese Howard himself. When the match is over, both of you gotta fight against each other, and the winner gets to stay and play the rest of the game. Super old school SNK fans will recognize the music playing in the background when you guys are fighting against each other to come from an older SNK game called Street Smart that was before they made the Neo Geo. Overall, LBRY is a decent game if you want to walk through memory lane and find out where the lone wolves first came from. It's simple enough with a 3-button layout, 1 button for punches, 1 button for kicks, and a button for throws, and while the controls aren't the best, it's definitely playable. The graphics are good enough for the time the game came out in, and the backgrounds even change colors between rounds as day turns to night, and I especially love the raining in Tumblr stage. And speaking of Tumblr, I love how he reminds me of Master Roshi, who was another old martial arts master that can also buff himself up. I also love those good old-fashioned cutscenes as Geese Howard gets angrier and angrier the closer you get to his operation. Like, I don't know who's supposed to win the tournament normally, but obviously not you, because he gets angrier with each match you win. And I love that Geese Howard actually says different things if you're Terry, Andy, or Joe. I remember back then I used to go back and play the game with the different characters to see what he says to each one, so that was kind of cool.
Fatal Fury is an old classic, but it's very limiting that you can only pick 3 characters even in versus mode. I know there were SNES versions that let you pick the other fighters, but we're only talking about the original arcade. The graphics, music, and controls were way better than Street Fighter 1, but it's hard to compare this to Street Fighter 2 since the game was made around that time. At least the game gave us classic characters that we see to this day, like Terry Bogard and Geese Howard.
And that wraps it up for this episode of Video Game Masters. Like I said before, stay tuned. There'll be more episodes to come. The next, 4 or 5 episodes are going to be like this 2-in-1 deal with these lost episodes, these lost game reviews. So please stay tuned. This is Mark Rodriguez.
And this is Johnny Rodriguez. Thanks for watching and see you next time.